G'day battlers, and the title is not clickbait. I brought an illegal Pokemon into a sanctioned Pokemon Go tournament, and so I've got some explaining to do. First of all, why is Xerneas an illegal Pokemon in a Pokemon Go tournament? All the way through to how do you even get Xerneas in the Great League? Because it is actually accessible. So let me start from the top. First of all, how do you get Xerneas in the Great League? And the answer is through the Go Pass. This is sort of a new feature, I guess, that they tested out a few months back, and now is being tested in certain regions of the world for the month of April. So a lot of regions don't have this. I know that America doesn't have it, Japan doesn't have it, but in Australia, I do have access to the Go Pass. And as a part of this Go Pass, you actually get access to the first time to a level 15 Xerneas, which, isn't immediately out of the research small enough for Great League, but once you trade it with a new friend, it has about 20% chance of becoming Great League eligible, and so there you have it. All of a sudden, you have a Great League Xerneas. But then, why is it illegal? And some of you might be thinking, play Pokemon heads, you might be going like, oh, because it's a new Pokemon, it hasn't actually hit the Tuesday window yet. Not true. Because Xerneas already exists and it hasn't been given any new moves, it is actually completely legal by that part of the rule set. The truth is, Niantic have banned it from Great League. I have a feeling that they maybe didn't remember the fact that they would now be sort of unleashing Great League Xerneas onto the world without a lot of the planet actually having access to it. I think it might have been a bit of an oopsie, but essentially they have made it so you literally cannot pick Xerneas when you go into battle. Like if you go to the battle screen, whether it's Go Battle League or private matches, you can't click on Xerneas, which means, why am I bringing it to a tournament? And the answer is because it's funny, and also because it technically does mean that it is a banned Pokemon. And there's actually two other Pokemon that are currently in Pokemon Go that are in a similar spot, those being Ditto and Shedinja. Ditto, because the way it transforms, the way the stats work, it would actually become a Pokemon even stronger than CP 1500. And Shedinja, I think that is waiting for an ability to sort of, make it actually interesting before they let it run wild in PvP. And so the official Pokemon Company rules for these Pokemon in PvP does list Shedinja and Ditto being, unable to be picked. But they haven't yet updated the rules for Xerneas. And so here we are. I decided to register it onto my team of 6. Even though I physically couldn't use it, I would be just, hand behind my back, be stuck with 5 Pokemon. Really, this is all just a funny bit, but hey, you clicked the video, didn't you? So let's get into the battles. I'm not going to do any deep analysis of the teams and such through these battles. I'm just going to click play and play them all straight. But one thing I do want to mention is that none of my opponents knew that I could not use Xerneas. They were all under the guise that it was actually going to be a useful Pokemon. Well, maybe not useful, but it was at least a usable Pokemon. And I was running Thunder to sort of scare away water types like the Azumarill and the Lapras. And then I also ran Megahorn because I'm actually just running Choose's team from the Brisbane Regional Championships where Choose came second. And essentially I just swapped out Sableye for Xerneas because they are such equivalent Pokemon. And so I was like, a little bit weak to Claydol, so I'll throw Megahorn on here. And so that is essentially where we're going. But again, I don't actually have all of the battles recorded either, so I'm just going to show a few. And then, we can call it a day. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, by the way. Especially, I have another similar video, let's say, going into the future, and I think it's another pretty cool one. But anyway, in the lead here, we got the Drapion swap into the Azumarill, and we actually got the defense debuff. And that's actually pretty huge for Drapion, because all of a sudden, it can actually win this matchup against the Azu. So I go for another crunch, bring it right down to the red, and you can see we're almost at another crunch. Well, we're at another crunch here. Azumarill is down in the red, and we're actually at the point where we could actually Poison Sting down. And so Jumothy correctly swaps into the Swalot here, does eat a crunch, gets another defense debuff, which at the time I'm like, oh yeah, this is all coming together. And so I swap into the Lapras. We can take the Sludges. Psy Waves are really going to add up onto the Swalot. We can just throw one Sparkling Aria to get the KO. I don't think I can Psy Wave all the way down, and so I do decide to throw the Sparkling Aria, take out the Swalot, and now it's just about what is in the back. And unfortunately for me, it is the Golisopod. And so the Pokemon that I've left with full health is Annihilape. I really wasn't predicting the Golisopod. I was thinking that it was maybe going to be like the Malamar. And so all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, okay, this isn't great. And so I decided to bring in the Annihilape, which was maybe a bit of a questionable play, but I just wanted to sort of get it in somewhere where I would actually have an opportunity to ramp up Rage Fists, as opposed to just instantly losing it to a Pokemon with energy without much recourse. But you can see that we don't really get to do much with it. Now we have a low health Drapion and a low health Lapras, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try the Lapras. I was actually going to try and go for a catch there, but I was sort of banking on Jumothy you know, he wasn't going to throw straight away in case of the catch. And look, this is how it ended up with Drapion going for the Aqua Tail, taking out the Gliscopod. I think if I actually just go straight for the Gliscopod, actually, he still had a shield, so I don't think it really mattered. But game number 2, we do get the Drapion into the Gliscopod. I'm just happy that Annihilape is sort of hanging out safe in the back. I'm much more comfortable with Annihilape against most of the rest of the squad. So take the Aqua Jet, go for another crunch, fishing maybe for that defense debuff again. No debuff, but we do get a protect shield out of the situation. And because Drapion paces to crunch at the same pace as Gliscopod to the Aqua Jets, I decide that I'm going to go for another crunch, knowing that it actually takes him really down low, and he lets it go. Swapped into the Swalot, we swap into the Lapras. It's now 1 shield to 1 shield, and again, we're pretty comfortable in this position. Now that Gliscopod is so low, I'm looking at my Annihilape, and I'm going like, okay, if it's A/or Credilli, brilliant. That would be awesome. But I'm kind of thinking that because Annihilape was quite weak into game number 1, I'm hoping that he's going to think that I'm not bringing Ape into game number 2. And so I'm hoping that he's gone a little bit weaker to the Annihilape. And so taking out the Swalot, that is exactly what's happened. He's brought in the A/ thinking that we might not bring Monkey. Here it is. And we're just going to get a clean Rage Fist to boost it up and counter down. And so it is 1-1. Unfortunately, I didn't actually record game 3 accidentally. And so we don't actually have that here, but Jumpy did win. So we've got a 1 game up against Alligation here as well, where we have the Annihilape into the Shadow for Alligator, which to be honest is still legit, but we actually get a really nice catch where we just go, after 5 Shadow Claws, we swap into the Lapras, take the Hydro Cannon on the Lapras, and you can see that Alligation stays in. He knows that he sort of should get some energy to save for the back line. Keeps it for later and then swaps out, which is a pretty good play. We've seen the Alolan Sandslash coming in here, and this makes a lot of sense as well. Because I showed the Annihilape, he knows that this is going to be weak to an Annihilape, so he sort of wants to get some use out of it. It just means that we can get the Annihilape in to get some farm down though, and then we're in a pretty strong position. It's actually the Feraligatr coming back in. They do have energy, but so they're going to shield up my Rage Fist. I decide that Feraligatr is going to be quite strong, so I'm going to shield up the Hydro Cannon and actually swap into Barbaracle. Look, Barbaracle is a very wacky Pokemon. It can be very interesting, but against my team, the Annihilape was going to be pretty strong. Pretty much no matter what he brought. Really, the Talonflame and in some sense the Feraligatr were the only two that were going to be able to do any work. And so again, this is the only battle I have up against Alligation, and then I've actually only have 1 more round because I actually got the bye in this tournament as well, in this 4-round cup. And so Sesh Ketchum, shout out to this guy, by the way. He gave me a lift back home after the tournaments. Really nice guy. Really happy to have some new faces popping up in the local scene. But we've got the Annihilape into the Drapion, and you can see, it's obviously not a great spot for me, but it's not that bad, right? And so I'm sort of deciding like, okay, I don't think that Annihilape is going to be too important for me in the back. I'm kind of expecting Talonflame to pop out and maybe the Claydol, and actually speaking of, here is that Claydol. And so I'm kind of like, maybe not Talonflame. I don't know what I was saying with that, but it's kind of like, okay, that's fine by me. We'll bring in our Lapras, which is a bit of a questionable play. Like, I sort of questioned it straight away. I was like, brother, we're doing resisted Psywaves. They're doing super effective Rock Tombs. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking in the moment, to be honest with you, but hey, here we are, I guess. We do get another Sparkling Aria that would be enough to carry the Claydol. But, they're going to shield, and I think we just let Lapras go because we weren't going to be able to do anything else. I think that was maybe a bit of an unfortunate charge attack priority on their end. But at this point, we're like, okay, low health Drapion. I wonder, I'm still not sure about this play either, but I brought in the Clodsire because I figured the energy would be really useful, especially when they actually have no shields in tow. It is the Credilli in the back, so I'm like, okay, we could potentially win this. I try and make a catch, which was maybe a little bit too cute, but look, Sesh Ketchum does end up throwing the move, so I'm like, thank heck for that. I really needed you to throw something because I had thrown myself up a creek. We bring in the Clodsire, we go for 1 Stone Edge, thinking that maybe a 1 Earthquake wouldn't be enough, and so maybe we might need 2 Stone Edges, but we're now at the point where it's like, oh, I need so much energy because I need a move for that Claydol in the back. I don't have a move for that Claydol in the back. It's charge attack priority on this as well. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is nightmare material. The Claydol comes in. We're not going to get an Earthquake off. And look, it's GG's on that one. Actually, I've got 2 games against Seth Ketchum. So we actually get a much better lead in game number 2 with the Annihilape into the Credilli and the swap into Lapras, meaning that he is, again, ABA weak to this Annihilape. And so all of a sudden I'm like, well, that's not too bad. So I decided to go for a bit of a chip and dip strategy where I get a bit of counter damage onto the Lapras, swap into my own Lapras, and at this point, I sort of know that I'm going to win the mirror. Sesh Ketchum does have Ice Beam on their own Lapras. It isn't a Valiant, Vish, Skull Bash Lappy. So we sort of stay in comfortably going like, yeah, we can win this matchup, even with that bit energy that you've sort of stocked up. And so you can see we're getting pretty low, and he swaps out, I think, with a Sparkling Aria banked as well. So in comes the Credilli. We're able to get an Ice Beam, and then that's, lets the switch timer go down again, so we can swap back into Annihilate. I decide to shield up here. Knowing that I can get a full counter down, and also knowing that like it would be quite strong into Lapras in the back. He's got the Claydol again, and so I'm also able to get a Rage Fist off here to do some super effective damage. This is sort of the part where I'm kind of like, okay, I think that it's worthwhile at least sticking around to get a second Rage Fist. We get the last shield, but then it's like, ooh, what do we actually do here? Because he's got so much energy stocked up. The Rock Tomb's going to come through. My ape isn't going to have much in the tank. I need my Drapion to do a lot of work. I know that there is a Sparkling Aria waiting for me in the back from that Lapras as well. So I'm kind of like, ooh, where do we take a move? So I shield up the Rock Tomb. I go for the Aqua Tail here, kind of just hoping like, please be enough. And it was enough. The Lapras comes in, and we actually do get the Aqua Tail here. We get the KO. And again, I don't have game 3, but he ended up winning game 3. So it is what it is. But again, this is really just, this is just cherry on top. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's the rest of the Xerneas image way over there. But again, thanks for watching. It was just a bit of a fun video. Subscribe to the PvP Josh channel if you haven't already. And look forward to, again, I guess a similar video coming out in the future. But until then, thanks for watching. Thanks to all my opponents. And thanks to, Lord Kai for hosting the tournament. Shout out Xerneas. Hopefully you sort of become, eligible to play. But at the meantime, I can pretty comfortably say that I'm the only person to ever bring Xerneas to an official Pokemon Go tournament. So put that one in the history books. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.